Hello and welcome back to Couch to GCSE Maths. Hope you're all keeping well and that you are actually finding these lessons useful. This is number 4, almost said 3 there, sorry. This is number 4, okay? And so we're going to carry on in interpreting data. So, before we start the normal starters, hopefully you're starting to maybe understand a little bit of it, but actually looking at it, it's to do with algebra. So that's not going to be done till about lesson 11-12-ish. So have a go, and especially if you are off school, a lot of this you will know. If you're actually trying to do this course from scratch, don't worry, we will cover all of these areas. I just want to get you as used to exam questions as possible. So pause now and have a go. Okay, welcome back, and hopefully you got the same answers. If not, as I said, do a few more lessons and then come back and try again. So, interpreting and representing data. As usual, in order to be successful, you need to be in the light blue. However, to get comfortable in the exam, I'd rather you're in the dark blue, and if you are starting to hit the purple area, then have a think about doing the higher paper. And remember, it's red, go back and try again. Amber, you may want to go back and try a few questions or work through an exercise book just to get practice at those questions. And if you're green, just carry on. Before we actually start data, what I want you to do is just to go through these questions to see how much of this you remember. And this is to do with degrees, both in circles, in quadrilaterals and in triangles. So have a go at these questions now. Okay, welcome back, and hopefully you got these answers. So main things to know is that the degrees in circles is 360, degrees in a triangle is 180, and a right angle, just basically like that, is 90 degrees. So today we're only going to be covering 4 things: how to draw and interpret pie charts, stem and leaf, scatter graphs, and the different types of correlation that we have. So first of all, pie charts. A pie chart is just simply a way to represent information. So it's a little bit like how we saw box plots or frequency graphs. This is just a different way to represent data. Now, the pie chart shows the proportion of drinks bought at vending machines. Now, in that you can tell that probably more cappuccinos were sold than tea. But the problem with pie charts is you don't know how many. Now, normally there is a key to show maybe what degrees worth in numbers, but usually this is just a visual image to show. Now, one of the most amazing facts is Florence Nightingale actually used a lot of pie charts and other mathematician charts to try to show just how bad basically it was looking after injured soldiers because of hygiene. So it can represent data really well. So Sam did a survey on the colour of cars in the school car park. He encountered 32 cars. So that pie chart represents 32 cars. Now, one of the things they're going to ask is how many cars were red. Actually, why don't you have a look at those questions and see if you can come up with the answers. So pause now. Okay, welcome back. So, as we can see here, how many red cars were there? Well, the pie chart shows half of them were red. So if he counted 32 cars, half of the 32 would be 16. What fraction was silver? If you look at the shape, it's 90 degrees, or you could just actually look at the shape and say, actually, it's a quarter of the whole circle. So the fraction is 1/4. Let me just write that in. So that was 16, 1/4. How many is this? Well, it's 32 halved and halved again, which would be 8. And how many cars were blue? Well, you can see that the blue is half again of the silver, so that would have been 4. Hopefully you got the same answers. So pie charts can be thought of as circle graphs, just with no numbers. And what you need to do is count the number of parts of a circle is divided into, or how much is represented by a percentage. Now a percentage is 100%. A good way to remember percentage is if you know 100 is written as 1 and 2 zeros, and a percentage is a 1 and 2 zeros. It's a silly thing, but sometimes if you do something fun, it helps to remember things. So if you look at this, you can see that the circle is cut into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, double that, 10 parts. So each section of the circle, now the section of the circle will be going down to here and up to there, would represent 10%, because it's a tenth of 100. Now if you look at this, you can see this isn't cut into 10, it's cut into 1, 2, 3, 4, actually 8. So you have to work it out in eighths. Now sometimes if you're drawing pie charts, it's up to you whether you cut it into percentages, whether you cut it into eighths, or whether you cut it into degrees. And we will have a practice at a few of them. So, a drinks machine dispenses 500 drinks on a Monday, and the information is displayed in the pie chart. So use the information to find the number of drinks sold. Have a go at that, and then, as usual, come back to me. Welcome back. As you can see, the chart is cut into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So altogether 10. So 10 parts of it represents 100%. Now if we know that 500 drinks is the whole circle, then T is 2 parts, which is 20%. So we have to work out what is 20% of 500. Now a good way to find 10% is basically the 500 divided by 10, which is 50. So 20% would be, hopefully you've just come and said 100. So 30% would be 150. The milk, which is 10%, would be just 50. And the squash would be 200. Now at the end, a good way to check if your answers are correct is just simply add them all up. So that is 200 plus 50 is 250, plus another 150 is 400, plus 100 is 500. As it all adds up, it's just a nice check that I've got the answers right. Actually, it's really nice because otherwise it would go on YouTube that I can't do maths. Okay. And so you can go back and check. I've written down the answers there. Hopefully that helps. Now, we're just going to do a little bit of check your understanding. So just pause after each bit if you need to think, or just come back and see how fast you can come with your answers. So for each of the following pie charts, write down the percentage shaded and the fraction shaded. So the percentage shaded in that is 50% because it's half of it, and so the fraction is a half. Write down the answers now. And you'll find it'll be a quarter and 25%. Write down now. And you'll find it's a third. Now a third is 33 and a third percent. Or if you think of a third of 360 degrees, it's also 120 degrees. Here's just a good way to just check your understanding. The pie chart represents 18 people. How many chose purple? And the answer is 9. This one represents 50 people. how many chose purple? And the answer is 50. This pie chart represents 42 people. How many people chose pink? Hopefully you realise it's a bit of a trick question. There is no pink, so the answer is 0. The pie chart represents 20 people. So how many people chose green? And hopefully you've seen that green is a quarter, so it's 20 halved, which is 10, halved again, which is 5. This time, how many people chose yellow if it was 46 people? Answer, 23. Now, if that black part, that sector of the circle, represents 2 people, how many does the whole pie chart represent? Just getting you to think just a little bit differently. And the answer is 16. The pie chart represents 48 people. How many people chose black? And the answer is 6 because it's an eighth, which means you half 48, which is 24, half it again, which is 12, half it again, which is 6. So in this pie chart represents 39 people. How many people chose red? And as red is a third, it's 13. Right, here's a chance for you to have a little bit of think. These 2 pie charts represent both Ireland and Greece. So what I want you to do is to look at the questions, pause, try to answer it, and then come back to me. Okay, welcome back. So, do the pie charts show that there are more people under 15 in Ireland than in Greece? There are few people under 15 in Greece than in Ireland? Or there is a higher proportion of people under 15 in Ireland than Greece? Hopefully, you answered C. Because remember at the start I said the problem with pie charts is that there are no numbers. Well, we don't know how many people live in Ireland and we don't know how many people live in Greece, unless you want to go and research up how many people live in these countries. But based on these pie charts, we don't know. So therefore we can't say that there are more people under 15 in Ireland than in Greece, because even though the area is bigger than this one, there may be a lot more people under 15 in Greece than Ireland. So the numbers will be different. So just be careful, because sometimes in the GCSE paper they will ask you questions like that, but remember there's no numbers in pie charts unless they give a key. Okay, so this is the questions you're more likely to get on a GCSE paper, which is how to draw pie charts. So in a survey, people were asked to indicate which one of the 5 sports they liked best. And then the information was going to be displayed on a pie chart. Now, this can be quite difficult because, of course, the number of people surveyed isn't going to represent the 360 degrees that are in a circle. So a circle is represented by 360 degrees, which is what we need. Now, to draw out the pie chart, you will need one of these. And the best thing to do is to get a box of maths equipment, and you can buy this from any local supermarket or Amazon or something like that. It doesn't matter as long as you have your protractor, your compass, a ruler, usually a rubber, and a sharpener. Okay, so the first thing to do to draw a pie chart is add up the number of people, which is 300. Now, if any of you think you can do this already because you've already learnt it, pause now and see if you can draw your own pie chart. Okay, welcome back to anyone who paused, and thanks for staying with me, anyone who stayed. Right, how we can work out what the degrees are worth is we can just divide the 75 by the 300, because it's This is the fraction of the whole amount. So 75 people out of 300 people liked rugby, and then you multiply this by 360, which gives you the 90 degrees. Another thing you could do is divide the 360 degrees by the number of people who were surveyed, and luckily I have my trusty calculator here because I don't want to do it in my head. So 360 divided by 300 is 1 1/5, or 1.2. And this can be a quicker way, because then all you do is you multiply each part by 1.2, and that will give you the answer. So that is the faster way to do it. But if you do not understand how to do this, just go back to making the 75 a fraction of the number and multiply by 360. So now that you've seen that, try to do the rest for football, cricket, ice hockey and squash. Okay, welcome back, and hopefully you've got those answers. Now, what I like to do once I've done that is I like to add up all of these degrees and make sure that they add up to 360. And I do this before I draw, just to make sure that I've got the answer correct, because otherwise I'd have to start again. So that might be something you like to do as well. Now, if the PowerPoint works, hopefully I'll be able to show you how to draw this. Okay, so the first one we want to do is rugby, which is 90 degrees. Draw a line. Make sure, as you can see here, I'll probably highlight it here, that line is on top of the line that you've drawn, and it should go from the center of the circle all the way across. And you go up the 90 degrees, just put a dot and then draw up, and then you move it, and you can see, you basically label it and move it round if it's easy for you to do. And usually what I do as well is I mark the degrees, and then you carry on, this time for 108. Again, go down, go up to 108. Make sure you always start at 0 and move around, because you can see that there's numbers on both sides. So always start at the 0 and move around. So 108 would be roughly about there. You put your dot and you draw your line. And I got that dot completely wrong. 108, just as well, it's not my exam. And then you carry on with all the rest. And that is how you should be finished. Now, as I said, I like to, when I do this, I draw in my degrees. Ice hockey, let me see, 72. And I like to do this all the way around, so that when I go back to check my work, I know exactly what I've done. Most importantly though, you have to label the segments. Otherwise, when your papers are being marked, or your worksheets if you're still at school, the teacher won't know what area represents what, so you won't get the marks. Okay, here's another pie chart. Now, using the same steps that I showed you in the last one, try and draw this one. So pause now and see how far you can get. Okay, welcome back. So again, first thing that we do is we add up. Oh, this time it's 900. Now I'm going to do the other method that I showed. So I would divide the 900 by the 360, which I would get 0.4. And then I would multiply all the values by the 0.4, which would give me the angles. This is the method that I prefer because I find it faster. But you might prefer the first method, and that's completely fine because they give you the same answer, so it doesn't matter. And finally, add up all the angles to make sure you get to 360 degrees. And then you draw it. It goes down and so on. Last one. Hopefully that's what you got. Let's give a few more examples. So this one is a level 5. In a survey, people were asked to indicate which one of the pies they liked the best. The information is given on a table. So there's your example of the pie chart, so stop now and have a go. Okay, first thing we do is we add up. So remember, 360 degrees is the full circle. So I know that 6 times 6 is 360. So this time I just multiplied everything by 6. Hopefully that's the answers you got as well. And now let's try and draw it on a pie chart. So you try and draw it first and then come back. Okay, let's go. So the first one is 90 degrees. You usually find that there is one 90 degree, which is usually good because it sets it and it helps you know that at least you have one which is a nice mark down. You keep drawing it, and this time I didn't turn it around, and that's what I got. Remember, you have to label your pie chart. So here was an exam question that I found. The pie chart shows how Jenny spends her monthly income. Jenny spends £150 a month on food. Work out Jenny's monthly income and work out how much Jenny spends on rent. So pause, have a go at these questions, then come back to me. Okay, welcome back. So let's see what we have to do. So it says here that Jenny spent £150 on food. Okay, what does that mean? If I look at this, I see that this is 90 degrees. So Jenny spent £150. Now as I can get, this is a quarter, I can get 4 of these shapes into a circle. I know that to find out the total income, I have to multiply £150 by 4, which means she earned £600. Hopefully that makes sense. Next, work out how much Jenny spends on rent each month. If you look down here, it shows that Jenny spent 120 degrees, according to the pie chart, on rent. So what exactly does that mean? So what you do is you basically put 120 over 360. Because remember, 360 degrees make a circle. If you simplify that down, that is 1/3. So therefore, 1/3 of her wage went on rent, and 1/3 of £600 is £200. So, hopefully that makes sense. Have a go and go back and see if you can work that out. Now this is another level 5 question. So 900 pupils were asked to vote for their favourite subject, and the pie chart shows the responses. And the second one is, one weekend in Bedell, a cafe sold 300 drinks. Pause these questions now and have a go at each part, and then come back to me. Hopefully that's the answers you got. Now, I've written out how I've done it. Now, I like to do it by fractions, but that doesn't mean you can't use your calculator at this stage. It's just I like to work through fractions. When I've taught you fractions, which is in a couple of weeks' time, and then we have another lesson about another 10 lessons after that, you hopefully will get used to fractions. So, last question. The pie chart shows the percentage composition of human body. For a person weighing 50 kilograms, work out the compositions. Pause and then come back. And hopefully they're the answers you got. Remember, they gave the percentage there. So 70% of 50 kilograms. If you can't work out percent, remember that percent just means 70, for example, divided by 100. You can put that into the calculator, or you can turn that into a decimal, which is 0.7. Again, we will be going over percentages and decimals. Oh, I think I did a couple more questions. Okay, have a go at this and then come back. Welcome back. Hopefully you got those answers. This should be starting to become easier to you now. Again, I've written down how to do this. This time I used a ratio because I like ratios. So I know that 60% is equal to 5 pupils. So I'll do that here, percent pupils, for those who are better used to ratios. So now I want to know what 1% is, so I divide by 60. And with ratios, what you do to one side, you do to the other. And that becomes 5/60ths. And then I want to find out what 96 is, so I multiply by 96. And again, what you do to one, you do to the other. And so the answer is 8. So there I've showed you how to do it by fractions, how you can do it by percentages, or how you can do it through ratio. It doesn't matter. And again, if this is all new to you, we will be covering lessons on all of these areas. Now, I just want to thank Misty M03 for some of the content here. I have actually taken content from other people on TES. I just can't remember who from, but I do know that I did acquire some of these questions from Misty. So thank you if you're listening. So, are you red, amber or green?